TGIF. Thank God it's flat. Whew, the end of another long week, and I'm glad it's done. We are joined with us this week by John. John, how are you feeling? You were feeling a little under the weather earlier.
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Getting used to it these days.
Yeah, you done anything spectacular this week on Twitter?
Absolutely sod all.
Awesome.
It's been a very slow week for me. Not feeling too good. So, nice to be here, to be honest.
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us this week. I know it can be a little tough trying to get here every single week, especially when you're under the weather. So we appreciate it, and I'm sure our listeners appreciate it. We're also joined with Rob from Australia. Rob Freddy, how are you doing this week, sir? Joined with his parrots.
I'm doing excellent. Been on holidays this week, and my footy team is in the grand final tomorrow night, my time. So it's been a great week. Great week. Your team doesn't make the finals very often. What do you reckon about that, John? Your team make the finals very often, or what?
What team would that be then?
Your team. You're in a team, mate. You're in our team, okay?
One thing that is always said on my appraisals is not a team player. So make of that what you will. Enjoy your little game with spheres and balls and hot air.
Heart sports ball.
Go sports.
Go sports. Yay. All righty. We are also joined this week, finally, by James, the Full Armor OG. James, how are you doing this week?
Hello, guys. I'm doing really well. I missed you guys. It's good to be back. Cannot wait to hear what you guys have planned this week. I mean, I've enjoyed listening to you guys when I was gone, and it's been awesome. I'm excited. And I've been sick too. I've been sick as well. There must be this global chem flu that they're spreading around because it's going around. I heard it's in the States, it's in Canada, it's in Mexico, it's all over. So, yeah,
it must be.
Europe.
Welcome back, James.
A global chem flu. Yeah, because there's no globe. And we are also joined with Walt, Flat Earth Head. Uncle Walt, how are you doing this week?
Doing great. Glad to have you back, James. We missed you, brother. Sorry to hear you were sick. You might have been caught up in that whole bacterial drop they did during the eclipse. Remember, NASA was dropping or launching balloons filled with some kind of bacteria that, of course, would die and not return back to the ground in any way.
Yeah. I just found out they spray the oceans for their supposed measurement of the phytoplankton. So they're spraying the oceans so they can see stuff in there too. That's fun.
And we are the aerosol society.
We are ever since VO5, ever since the 80s. And last but not least, we are joined by Adam Meakin, the Adam Meakin. Adam, how are you, sir?
I'm not bad, mate. I'm not bad. But, first of all, James, welcome back, bro. Good to have you back, mate.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, cool. I had a busy week, mate. Busy week. Putting slides together for tonight, mostly. But yeah, good to be back. Looking forward to this evening. And like I said, great to have you back, James.
Thanks.
Alba has said there's no sound or vision yet.
It is Friday. It is on Realm.
Maybe he should try refreshing. Alba, if you can, if he can't
and
hear.
I've got a guy from Australia listening in, and he's just sent me a DM. Can't hear anything.
Welcome to Friday.
I can see this
on air light is flashy.
Good to be back. I can hear us live on.
Yeah,
I'm on my phone.
Everything green.
Maybe it's just not overseas. I don't know.
You should try refreshing.
Only certain people are getting blocked.
I don't know. That being said, Blue Pill, what's up? Naper Tandy, glad to have you with us again this week. Alba, as always, it's great to have you. Stephen, Gene, BA, it's Flat Earth Friday, TGIF. Ace McLeod says we're nerds.
But I'm proud.
Yep, I'm well proud.
And we are waking up as well.
Thanks, Ace.
Yeah, see,
I can hear it on the live stream too.
But just realize that this is also YouTube, the same people that probably did not send out one single notification that we went live. So you have to take that into account.
So everybody tweet, share.
Thumbs up, subscribe, thumbs down, share, do whatever.
Facebook, Snapchat, wherever you hang out, get us out there.
We do have a pretty big show this week. We do have a guest coming on here in a little bit, just shortly, as soon as I can manage to copy the link and send it over to him. Our good friend Chris from the channel Flat Earth Wax. He's busy working at the dispensary, and he's going to be joining with us whenever he can. We have a few things to talk about that had Flat Earth in the news this week, but that's going to be a pretty big topic. So we might have to put that off for just a minute, because we do have a presentation from the Adam Meakin, because I think it's about time we get rid of this 8 inches per mile squared. I do kind of use it as my tagline for Flat Earth Friday FRINGE-CAST: be there or be 8 inches per mile squared. But in terms of talking about the flat earth or the round earth, I think we need to just totally do away with that and get that out of our vocabulary, and come up with something that's going to actually show what curvature is missing when we can look out across the ocean and pick up objects from 30, 40, 50 miles away. How can we determine what that curvature should be? Well, the Adam Meakin has taken it upon himself to figure all that out for us and put it together in this nifty little calculator. So we're going to have him go through and break down exactly how he came to this formula and exactly the best way that we can share it. So that's going to be super exciting. But before we do that, I did want to sort of address last week. I don't know if anybody happened to come in and catch last week's show at the very end, sort of the last third, which technically would have been sort of the Fringe-Cast.
Yeah, I did.
So rather than having me continue to drone on, why don't you take this over and just sort of set the stage and let everybody know what happened? You were, I think you'd be best for this.
Who?
Oh, yeah. Sure. You, sir. I want to hear your take on what happened.
Oh, I listened to it back. Yeah, we got hijacked by Timmy and his friends after we had some baller on that claimed they had irrefutable evidence of curving water. Bernard or Bernardo or something along those lines.
Brenda, I think.
Brenda? Okay, Brendan, I don't know. Like I say, I don't remember it that well. Well, you brought it up. It wasn't a big deal to me, but what was your angle?
I was just curious as to what... we are probably one of the very few shows that they've managed to come on where everybody that was on the show originally stayed on the show. For whatever reason, Timmy and his cohorts bothered to not snipe any of us out of the whole hangout, which was pretty unusual. I thought that was kind of strange. So I don't know. Well, what did you think about Timmy?
So what do they normally do? They come on, snipe you, and then no one... What, they shut it down in 5 minutes or something? They've got 5 minutes to spout their stuff, and is that about it?
Or let it continue on for as long as they want. Once they basically snipe out the person that started it, they can do whatever they want with it, basically, after that.
Okay. Well, he was sort of trying to goad you to hit the stop button, so maybe he couldn't snipe it. I don't know.
It does seem that way. I mean, that would account for his behavior, which is not necessarily unusual for a baller to yell, scream, and cast dispersions. But for Trigger Timmy, it did seem a bit unusual that he would do it that fast. Usually he has at least a bit of sensibility before he's pushed to the edge. It seems like he was standing there when he joined.
Well, there's only so much of, show us what proof you have for a spinning ball that you can really... postpone to the point where you have to call people names and shout obscenities and that sort of thing. I mean, and we did ask him, didn't we?
I think we did.
And his friend, the cat. Thought he was quite polite, but again, gate crashing a party is never really polite, no matter whether you say please and thank you and wipe your feet on the way in and out. You're still gate crashing a party uninvited. So, yeah, he was polite enough, but I wouldn't invite him round my house.
And as far I might add too that when I was on lunch, because I worked last week, when I was on lunch, and so I was listening in on my iPad, and the chat, when them two come on after Brenda, the chat just turned to absolute crap. So they've given their link out to everybody, and I was sitting there trying to get rid of a few of them, but it was just overwhelming how many accounts were getting on there and ruining chat as well. So that's not a coincidence. It's never happened before. What they did really has never happened before to us. Yeah.
But then no one knows that.
But,
so we like to stay covert.
That's not a coincidence. So Timmy's got his little link from a site or something, and tried to ruin it. So that's the sort of person that
Brenda sent the link out, didn't Brenda said they sent the link out.
Yeah, I'm reasonably certain. We Are Waking Up says, I heard Brenda talking before on shows and thought it was a man with a voice. I'm pretty sure that is a man with a voice.
Guys,
I don't really care. But carry on, Joe.
Can I just say from an outside perspective, and I don't know if the listeners know, but I don't follow too much of the flatter scene per se. I follow Iron Realm, but listening back, it was very confusing for me at first. But I just wanted to say that you guys as a team handled it like top class, like very professionally, the way I know you guys did. So I'm really proud of the way you guys handled it. It was unusual. It was like really dirty trick. It's like lame. Like, I mean, but I also think, like Rob said, it's kind of an honor in a way, if that's what you meant. Like, you know, obviously we're getting to people if they got to resort to that. And I just think you guys handled it really well. That's all.
Well, thanks, James. I appreciate that. And I want to give a big thank you to all of our mods in the chat. Because as like Rob said, that chat blew up and they were just trying as hard as they could to tear it down. But by God, our wrenches were quick on the draw. They were out there just blocking them and timing them out and just nailing them left and right. So for that, I want to say thank you. You guys are awesome. You killed it. So
cheers, guys.
Yeah, that brings us to you, Adam.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and change this view. So you go ahead, share your screen, and we will take a look at this presentation you've got, because I am ready to get away with this 8 inches per mile squared, although it does roll off the tongue very nicely and a bit.
And it's pretty close. I mean, 8 inches per mile squared it's pretty good just to quickly work it out. And, you know, it's close, but it's not perfect.
That's right. It is an estimation. And I think that's kind of why I want to do away with it, because this is going to lend itself to some actual true numbers. So it's not going to be this approximation where there's going to be the wiggle room for everybody to cast doubt as to what the numbers really are. If we can nail down some exact numbers, that's going to help solidify our arguments, or at least cast doubt on theirs.
Okay.
Is the presentation available, Adam, for other people to see and download or whatever?
Yeah, well, I'll screen share it. I'll screen share it. But before I do that, I've got to address the Adam Meakin. Google gave me that. I went for Adam Meakin, but there was some teenager in Northern Ireland who had the same name. So the alternatives, and that was the first one that came up. So it isn't necessarily a point of egotism, but I do quite like it.
Has it always been the Adam Meakin?
From Google, that's what it gave me the first time I tried to, create a Google account.
So on here, it's always been the Adam Meakin, is it? I've never even noticed. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you said. Oh, I'm glad. It's not, like I say, it wasn't an intentional.
The Alex Jones.
Pretty soon you'll be knighted though with your experiment, so it'll be Sir Adam Meakin soon.
Oh,
wouldn't accept it, mate. Wouldn't accept it. Wouldn't want it whatsoever.
Take it away, Adam.
Can you see the screen? Are we?
Yes.
Have we got?
I think I've got it shared. I guess maybe I better share screens for everybody else in the Hangout that way.
Well, no, because just say, I'm glad. It's not like I say, it wasn't an intentional. Yeah, I was just saying Alex Jones. Pretty soon you'll be that's weird. That's weird. I've gone back in time.
I don't need to share my screen. Adam's sharing his.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that. I've distracted myself there. Right. Okay. So basically, I was asked this week, just would you please basically recap what you rambled on about? So in the summer, why have I done a flat Earth calculator? And it is, for me, it was the first thing that I started to do when I started out on my flat Earth journey. Jeremy was very much into it, and maths, I thought I'll just dive in there and prove why you can't see curve, because it's too big, the ball's too big.
Adam, jump in real quick, and right at the bottom of your screen there's that little banner that says screen or stop sharing, hide.
Oh, hide. She's gone.
Beautiful. Thanks.
There you go. So that's kind of why, and I've been doing a number of different things. I started out with a formula that I think describes how maths can lie, and I was convinced it was right, it was wrong. I then went on to a much more complicated version with angular vectors, which is still correct, but like I say, very complicated. And I still wanted a nice formula, and it does bug me when I can't do something. So it has been something that's always been playing with me. Other reasons is, and another reason it bugs me is 8 inches per mile squared is wrong. It's an approximation, and it's not actually accurate, I don't think, at any points, even at the first mile, because I think in reality the curve they use is 0.79 or something, isn't it? Or 7.9 inches. But it is close up to the first 100 miles. So for most kind of observational stuff, it is correct. But if you're doing calculations, it's not. So I thought it'd be quite useful for fellow flat earthers to have something that's not necessarily as easy as 8 inches per mile squared, but was still a portable form of being able to calculate. So when I was asked this week to kind of put together this talk, I thought, right, how will I do it? Because I realised I was a bit rambling. Hopefully this time I'll be a little less. But these are the kind of things I want to just cover. First thing is, I want you all to assume that the Earth is a ball of a radius 6,371 kilometres. And I know that's hard, but it kind of does help in terms of visualising stuff. And then we're going to go through a number of different just stages, which hopefully will just demonstrate the different parts of the calculator and how they're derived. And the first one is to calculate the number of degrees in a kilometre of radial straight line travel. So basically working how much of an angle you create as you walk. Next, we're going to define a mathematical definition of what drop is on a diagram. And then we're going to use that diagram to create and postulate a premise for the whole formula. Because as we'll see, as we develop it, it'll become apparent that we create a lot of geometric shapes and that are easier to calculate. And hopefully we'll then use some trigonometry to calculate some of the triangles we're making by the lines we're drawing, by what we're saying is going off. And then hopefully then we'll combine it to create a curvature calculator. So the first thing I want you to think about really, and this kind of alludes to the other reason I wanted to do it. I want people to actually hopefully understand it a little bit, because it does, when you do understand it, it becomes very hard to apologise for the ball, because the curvature is and should be apparent when you do have a decent understanding of it. But anyway, So the first premise is, how many degrees have I moved in 1 kilometer of travel? And we're going to use this derivation later on in the thing, and that's why we use the same one. But to calculate one, what we've got to do some basic maths. And so we start with the radius of the Earth is 6371 kilometers. So if we just do a bit of basic 2 pi r to give us the circumference, that gives us a 40,030 kilometer radius. And as we can see in the diagram there, if we were to walk
circumference
from the North Pole, it's a 40,000 circumference. And if you look in the diagram, if you were to walk from the North Pole to the equator, which is a quarter of the circumference, that would be equivalent to a distance of 10,007 kilometers, whichever way you traveled. So we can make a statement. So in 90 degrees, there are 10,007 kilometers. So in 1 kilometer of travel along the circumference, there are 90 divided by 10,007. And so the angle created by the travel of 1 kilometer around the circumference is equal to 0.00899326161 degrees, which is a big number, but we are working in kilometers here, and it's worth sticking with this many decimals. It pays dividends at the end if you are dealing with smaller distances.
Now, Adam, can I just butt in there? And could you go back a slide? Because this is where I had a problem, but I later worked it out. Where you say, so in 90 degrees there's 10,000 kilometers, so in 1 kilometer to travel along the circumference, it's 90 divided by 10,007 kilometers. Now, initially, I came back to you, didn't I, and said, surely that's in 1 degree rather than 1 kilometer. But I realised later that is the right calculation.
As we travel that 10,000 kilometers, from at 0 kilometers we've travelled 0 degrees, and by the time we've got to the 10,007 we've travelled 90 degrees, as you can see from the blue line. So for every 1 kilometer we've got 90 degrees there. So it is a matter of dividing 90 by the 10,007 to tell us what 1 kilometer.
Yeah, and that's where I was confused, because that's where I thought it was 1 degree rather than 1 kilometer, but it's 1 kilometer. So yeah, carry on, bud.
Yeah, no worries. So from that, what we said that's quite important, because we're going to use that in the calculation a bit later on. And what we're basically saying, so if in 1 kilometer there is 0.008993261 degrees, we can say that any angle A that is created by travelling a distance that's not 1 is equivalent to that distance multiplied by 0.008993261 degrees. So if we've travelled 100 kilometres, it's 0.8993261 degrees. So that's quite useful, because it's a very simple way of calculating that angle now, based on the distance that we travel on the circumference. And that's quite important, that what we're actually here is expressing a distance that's travelled on a circular, a curved line, which is some of the problems I had previously in a lot of calculations. It's very easy to do stuff with straight lines, and that's part of the solution here later on. So we've figured out a way of calculating an angle that is created from the, obviously that's the center of the Earth. The next thing we need to do is kind of define drop or curvature. And what you can see by the time we've traveled the distance, which you can see is that ended by the second line, I'm suggesting that drop, or what we would define as the amount of curvature experienced, can be defined as the distance d1, and that's created by drawing a horizontal line from the point of intersection of the second radial line there. And what you can see by drawing that line is it creates two other lines, D1, as I said, which we hope is the drop in curvature, and D2, which is the second part. And because of that, actually, we can make a statement by looking at that maths, a mathematical statement, because we can say that D1, which is the drop, adding to D2 is actually equal to the radius. And for use later on, we can rearrange that equation to read as D1, the drop, because that's what we're trying to find, is equal to the radius minus D2. So as long as we know the radius, which we do, and we can work out D2, actually, we can find out the drop.
With you so far?
Yeah, does that make... So I'm trying to calculate D1. It's very difficult. As I said, look, we've got a curved line there, and it makes all this... It's very hard to calculate, and that's part of one of my first calculating errors, that it wasn't taken into the size of the ball into effect in any of the calculations, and this hopefully does mitigate for that. So we can't easily define D1, but it is actually quite simple to find D2. As you can see that the lines create a right angled triangle. You can see the yellow line, the point of intersection, actually creates a right angle there on the north radius red line, which should enable us to do calculation using trigonometry. So there's that triangle. And we can see here we've got the radius, which is the distance travelled line, which is equivalent to the hypotenuse in this case. And we've got D2, which is the amount created by the distance travelled. We also know angle A. And if we use trigonometry, I don't know if anyone can remember this from school, but there's SOHCAHTOA. So what we've actually got is the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So what it defines is that we use cosine in our calculation. Are you all with me there? Is that right?
I'm holding on, but I'm trying to keep up, brother. You go.
Yep, with it.
Yeah. So using trig, we can actually therefore define D2. And as I just said, we've got the adjacent and the hypotenuse, so we use the cosine. So we can actually make the statement that the cosine of angle A is equal to the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. And we can obviously stick that information from our that we've calculated so far into that. So we can actually say that the cosine of angle A is equal to D2 divided by the radius. Now, we was hoping to try and find out D2, so we can actually rearrange that equation. So we could rearrange to say that D2 is equal to the radius times the cosine of angle A.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not trying to prove anything yet, but what we're doing is just taking the obvious that's in front of us and hopefully just jiggling it a bit at the end there in the blue, just to hopefully use later on. But I said what we're hopefully trying to find is the drop in curvature, or D1. So as I said, we've gone along, we've made a number of statements, and the first one is, like I said, we're trying to find out D1. So earlier we did say that D1 is equal to the radius minus D2. And I assume you all agree that is true. Does it hold true in that diagram?
Yep, spot on.
Yeah. So we also said that D2 is equal to the radius times the cosine of angle A, which hopefully you agree by basic trigonometry, as it showed earlier. And at the beginning, we did make a statement that angle A can be calculated by the distance times 0.00899322161. So we've got all those lovely statements that we've explored via logic to derive, and hopefully now we'll stick it all together a little bit. So given that we've said d1, the drop, is equal to the radius minus d2, and we know that d2 is equal to the radius of times cos A. So if we substitute that into the equation, d1 equals radius minus d2, it then becomes d1 is equal to the radius minus the radius times the cosine of A. Now, we know that the radius of the Earth is 6,371 kilometers. So if we substitute this into the equation, then it starts to look a lot prettier. So d1 is equal to 6371 minus 6371 times the cosine of A. Carry on, John.
I was just going to say, we don't know the radius of the Earth is so and so. We, for the sake of this ball, that's the radius that we're working with, but it's got fuck all to do with Earth.
I'll refer you to point 1, which is I am asking you to assume Earth is a ball of radius 6371.
Oh, I didn't see Earth there. Right, I thought you said assume a ball of radius.
Yeah, so work with me. Yeah. So
you like Eratosthenes. Just assume.
I know it's wrong. Okay, so if we've put the radius into the equation now, and that's always going to be fixed, so it can sit there nicely as a nice number. So the other thing we've got to put in is the other thing we worked out in terms of the relevance of angles to distance travelled. We do know that the angle is equal to distance times 0.00899322161. So if we substitute that into the equation, it becomes d1 equals 6371 minus 6371 times the cosine of the distance times 0.00899322161. So I proudly announce the curvature formula for a fictional ball Earth. The drop in curvature in kilometers is 6371 minus 6371 times the cosine of the distance times 0.00899322161.
Spot on. Brilliant.
Simple.
So can we do all right, so I don't know if you can do it, Adam, but can you do like 8 miles, work it out right now and use your little calculator? Can you do that?
What I've got here for you.
Adam's got a big calculator, mate. Not a little one.
I've got calculator envy now.
Well, what I've done there, Rob, is some little Aussie rules as I did earlier for you, so that hopefully you can do it. I can do it. You know, it's there. I'll have to go in. I can't come off the screenshots, but remember this is in kilometers. Okay, and as with all maths, it's important you input the units correctly. So this is a kilometer distance.
Who uses
but basically this is to talk in when we're expressing when we put numbers in, it needs to be expressed in kilometers, and when you get numbers out, it's going to be expressed in kilometers. Okay, now I knew you'd moan, and I know you know, but what I've done here is the imperial version for Mr. Savage.
And England and Ireland and the UK, America.
Yeah. And as actually the important for replacing 8 inches per mile. Yeah. So if we say that the radius is 3959, blah, 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 times it through 24,875 miles. Okay. So therefore a quarter of that traveling from the north to the south is 6218. So in 90 degrees, there were 6218. So, look, typo. In 1 kilometer of travel, it should say 1 mile of travel. It's actually, I shouldn't have said that. Maybe people won't notice, but
back up, go back to the Aussie rules.
So this shows that, you know, basically it's what we're having to do here is put the different parameters in because we're talking in different units. So per mile, it's actually 0.01447222858 degrees per mile. And obviously the radius is expressed differently as 3959. So that is expressed in miles.
Well done, man.
Adam.
All right. So I want to ask a question. So 10 miles. I don't care. Whatever we want to do. 8 miles, 9 miles. 10 miles. I've got a scientific calculator right in front of me right now. What do I do? And this is for everyone else. Like, that was real. It's still really, really difficult for people to listen to that and to go straight to their calculator and work it out because you're using cosine. Someone sees a
okay,
little,
so let's do it then.
Formula there. They see 3,959, and I'd rather do it in metric. But you see 3,959 minus 3,959. My brain goes, well, that's 0. But you're timesing it by the cosine, so it changes things.
I think we need some brackets.
I've got a calculator right in front of me. Yep, I know. Brackets make things different.
No, I was just saying when I was, doing A-level maths and pure and applied maths and that sort of thing, in the books they had, they would show you the formula, and then underneath it would show you the combination of what you would put into your calculator in order to do that formula, and that's what you're talking about, isn't it, Rob? It's like, how would I do this on a calculator? Step by step.
I want to go step by step. How am I punching in? We'll use 10 miles or 10 kilometers. I think we should use 10 kilometers for starters because metric's a lot easier. Then we can do a miles one if.
I'll do it on both. So you just press if you're using your mobile phone, then it's slightly different because you have to it's a bit more like a programmable thing. But on a calculator, you'd put the number in, which is the distance times what we're doing, kilometers or miles. What do you want, Rob?
Do 10 kilometers. Do 10 kilometers first.
Let's do the Aussie rules then, yeah?
So can anyone share their screen with a calculator? I can if you need to.
Yeah, that'd be really good. That'd be the ultimate if we could share the screen with a calculator. That would be the ultimate.
I can give it a shot. See if I can find a different calculator that I can use and share my screen.
Yeah. And then after that, if you could do it for 6371 kilometers, I just want to know what the drop would be after 6371 kilometers. But we'll do the 10.
You're just being a really smart ass there, aren't you, John?
No, I'm not, because none of them work. I'm not, because if you go to the 8 inches per square mile and do that for
I know what you mean.
3959, then it doesn't work. If you do it for numerous
it only gets to exactly half if we remember, isn't it? John, it gets to exactly half the drop, which
gets to about 1,630 odd miles or something. Which, when it should be the radius 3959, but So I just want to. That's my litmus test on equations, and I don't, and I think I'm pretty sure I've done it, but I'd like people to see. How are we getting on with the calculator? Do you want me to share it?
Adam, you want to stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, no worries. Okay.
Adam, are you on the laptop?
Yeah.
What we really need is you sharing your screen with the presentation to the side, so you can see the formula, and you doing the calculation on a scientific calculator. You got one on your laptop?
Give me half a thing. I'm pretty good at this shit, I'm not totally inept.
No, but
OBS.
we need to see the formula as well.
I can do
So
both.
unless you've got that too.
Well, I think I do.
Okay.
No, I had it somewhere.
I might give a shout out to Brett too while we're Brett's an Aussie I met a couple of days ago. He alerted me to ARS, the Australian Research Centre in Australia or something, but I don't know, Brett. I don't know if that's real anymore. There's
Rob,
too much conflicting stuff out there.
You got to say it.
Was it
ARS.
Australian Research for Space Exploration?
American.
Imagine if you worked at ARS. Where you work? ARS. But yeah, there's a couple of websites there saying it's not right. The ARS isn't right.
It's not far wrong though. Is it?
It's made up. Yeah, it's made up like a lot of things.
ARS. Yeah,
JAXA, NASA, ESA.
I guess, Adam, go ahead. Share your screen with that one slide on it, I guess. We'll try that.
I've got a scientific calculator up. I've pulled it up if that might help.
I've got one showing too, John.
Now.
John wanted to put formula up next to it, but I can't locate it quickly. So if you could maybe share your screen with it, I can try to work that in. Perhaps.
There you go. So what distance are we doing?
Yeah, I was afraid of that.
Do 10 kilometers.
Right, so 10 kilometers times.
You're not sharing.
I'm not.
Am I not? Oh,
Oh,
sorry, I'm not.
Sorry, sharing my calculator.
There we go.
Perfect. All right, let me get it up on screen for everybody on YouTube.
Big sigh.
Done. Go.
Okay, so 10 kilometers. What distance are we doing? Times 0.008993216 is equal to that. Yeah? Are you with me so far, Rob?
Yeah.
Yep. And then cosine of that is 0.0999987. Yeah. It's really lovely if you've got it to this decimal points because the level of accuracy is superb. Okay. So we've now found the cosine of A, which is the distance times that. Yeah? Now we're going to multiply 6371. So times 6371. And then we're going to, in a minute. So that is equal to 6370.9921519, blah, 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 blah. And now we're going to subtract 6371. You could bother. Oh, crap.
That's a 4.
Yeah. You could bother to actually do it as the formula states and put 6371 minus all of that. But it's easier just to do minus 6371 on the calculator. Okay. Now it will give you nicely, actually, a minus number, which is in reality what we're expressing, isn't it? But technically, from the formula, you should do it, all that taken away. But so therefore, we've got 0.00784.80599 blah 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 kilometers of drop. So if we now take that.
So that's 7 meters, isn't it? That's 7.8 meters.
Yeah, so let's times that by 1,000, and that will give us the answer in meters. So 7.84805, and you can see the detail because it is trick that you've got there and the accuracy you've got there.
Sweet. So over 6371 kilometers. Sorry.
Okay. Now, I'm ready for the apologetics here, and here we go. Now, cosines and sines work between 0 and 1, really. So, watch this then. So,
I'd be happy with anything plus or minus 200 kilometers.
2, 1, 6, 1 times by 10,007. Now, what this should equal is 90, shouldn't it, you see?
Where's 10,007?
That's your distance from the...
Okay, right, that's going around the quarter of the circumference of the ball.
Yeah. But you see, it actually equals, because 0.08999321161 actually isn't the whole answer and it continues on, there's obviously this very small difference here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when we then do the cosine of that, okay, and multiply it by 6, 3, 7, 1, and then subtract 6, 3, 7, 1 equals, and then if we multiply it by 1,000 as we did before, oh, that's not right. I've done something wrong there, haven't I?
So, in chat, we got Charlie.
You can see the numbers there.
They
You can see the numbers are nearly spot on there, Adam.
Yeah. So you can see it's tiny, basically, because it's basically 90 degrees. So basically the formula should work.
You had it right originally, Adam.
Yeah, because it's going to be close. What it should be is 0. Okay, so it becomes that times 0, which is 0. So 6371 minus it.
But when you times it by 1,000, that you were looking at that in meters. So you had it right originally with kilometers of 6370. Spot on, lovely. Does that make sense to people in the chat? Are there any questions from chat?
Yeah, we have Charlie in chat, who I'm almost positive is a FE denier. So he's saying you see all the 0.99999s. That's why you can use the Taylor series expansion. So apparently, I don't know anything about this Taylor series expansion. But Charlie's a math guy and a respectable math guy too. So big thanks to Charlie for being respectable in chat. We do appreciate every bit of respectability that's provided.
Is Charlie in agreement that this is accurate then for a ball of radius 6371 kilometers? This is fair spherical math.
He's not dead. I do remember when
if he's quibbling to be fair over the decimals, then I imagine that's that he hasn't got a problem with the concept or the notion that what this is showing is absolutely accurate and correct for a ball of 6371 kilometers in radius.
Yeah, I think I would be hard pressed to find someone to say that this doesn't work. Again, the maths work.
Yeah.
Now, if we could get the people to admit that because the maths work, that must represent what we live in reality, and that that doesn't work the other way around. If you look at reality, try to figure out the math, let's figure out the math and then take our reality on that. And I can definitely find that one in.
Someone needs
Josh,
to
I don't know what just happened to your sound, man.
I might have moved away a little bit.
I think, Josh, there. To be fair, that's the point of the reason for the presentation was to kind of demonstrate to you that the maths is relevant to the experience we're describing or what we're describing. That hopefully, and that's what like I said when I did my first formula, the formula didn't incorporate the size of the ball, and that's relevant to how human beings experience the amount of curvature.
Hell yeah.
And hopefully this one does incorporate the size of the ball. I mean, you could have the 6371 as a variable or change it like we did into miles, or you could just have it as a different function like R as radius, as we did early on. It can be variable. The the formula still applies because its basic trig is what it is. What we've done is take all that basic trig, put it together. So as long as he's don't have a disagreement with the maths, of course, as I said to John there, that decimal number times the radius should equal 90. It doesn't, because I've not carried it on long enough to infinity. But
can you do it one more time, Adam, for my Hinchinbrook Island? That is 65 miles away. Or sorry, we'll try 105 kilometers, I think it was.
Adam,
Okay,
didn't
so
you have a
105.
spreadsheet for this?
yeah, but I don't know where that is, to be honest. It's somewhere I can get it, but just let me do it like this, and then I can plug it in. This is
Adam, the link for your
calculator,
spreadsheet calculator. Yeah, it's in the description. It's been in the description since you went on holiday to Italy.
there you go.
Presentation, which we do appreciate you rehashing this all out for us. Your connection was pretty bad last time, so it was kind of hard to get into. But I do remember Flat Earth Math being in the chat, and we did direct him back to this formula. Flat Earth Math had joined us for several weeks in a row, as I recall, and then we threw this formula at him during that show, and that's the last we've heard of him. So,
I mean, look. I welcome any feedback. This isn't a flat Earth, a ball Earth issue. It's basic maths. Is the maths of the geometry we're describing correct? It doesn't matter whether you believe it's flat or round. It's either correct or it isn't. The maths, is it describing correctly what we're all envisaging when we talk about curvature and drop? That's the...
Yeah, we're talking about a beach ball that's blown up. It's a beach ball of that size radius. You know, it doesn't have to be Earth. This is just spherical maths. It either is right or it isn't right.
And yeah, we are waking up in chat. Says he was just listening and wants us to remember that it's all fake and we're not on a globe, but great work. And I think that's what we're saying, is that it perfectly works on a globe. It's not to say necessarily the Earth is a globe, but any planet that's a globe, anything that's a globe that you want to figure out the drop, this is the formula that you're going to use. Well, I guess that's not necessarily true, but you can just plug in the numbers of the drop and figure it out. Yes, we're not doing this to figure out the curve of the Earth on which we live, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. This is just to strengthen our argument as to what the curvature should be, what it is on a hypothetical ball this big. This is what the curvature should be. Then try to translate that into the reality around us.
Right, Rob. So 105 times the factor, the angle factor, okay, is equal to that. Cosine of that is that, multiplied by 6, 3, 7, 1. Minus 6, 3, 7, 1.
So Charlie in chat is saying, let me get back to it. For small angle,
865 meters.
Yeah.
865 meters.
That's about a drop.
Yep.
And that's not what you're seeing with your B700, is it?
I'm seeing the whole island.
Whole
The highest peak of Hinchinbrook is 3,000 feet, but that's only one of the peaks. I'm seeing the whole thing. I'm not just seeing a little bit of it. I'm seeing the whole island, and that's why I was so confused that I was seeing this island from so far away. I thought it was a lot closer. I thought it was an island that was a lot closer. But now I've got my bearings now out on the bay of what's what out there. Yep. All right. Yep. I've got that now, Adam.
Adam, I've got one more request. 30 miles.
Okay.
Which would cover my Seaton to the Isle of Portland. Being able to see that. Which is 480 odd feet high above the sea level, and I'm looking at it from 30 miles away. So I'm wondering what the drop should be.
Somebody else pull up a calculator so that you can convert decimal miles into feet.
Okay.
On the thing, and that will make my life easier. So first of all, so we've got 30 miles, the distance times the factor when dealing in miles, which is 0.0144. And that is equal to that. So we're going to multiply that. Oh no, we're not going to multiply that, are we? We're just going to do the cosine of that. Cosine of that, which is 0.999. Let me just try it again, just in case. What did you say? 30 miles, wasn't it, John?
Miles.
30. Times 0.0. To that, so then the cosine of that, it's the same, isn't it? Big fruit. Multiply that by 3959 equal to that, and then subtract 3959. So it's 0.113 miles.
Okay. And I'll put that into the doodah. Point
1137 miles
makes. What am I after? Feet? Kilometers? What? Miles? Right, I want that in feet, really. 600.336 foot. Well, yep, that's absolutely spot on compared to the 8 inches per square mile. And yeah, absolutely spot on. What we would need to look, if we were going to develop this further, is adding in observer height.
Yeah, that's unfortunately what kind of dawned on. I was obviously always do a little bit of critique reading. And that's what you always see about that. 8 inches don't mean anything. It's not got observer height in there. And I know it hasn't, but for a lot of calculations, observer height isn't necessary. You actually just want to know the curve of the land underneath you're supposed to be experiencing. And I'm sure we can quite easily...
You'd just be adding, instead of 6371, and I'll use metric because it's a lot easier, the 6371, and if you were... a metre and a half high, you'd be going 6371.0017.
Yeah, something
wouldn't you?
Like
wouldn't you?
that.
Because that's where your eyes are.
Yeah,
extending D1 and D2 with a D3 that is your height.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll have to have a play with that.
Yeah.
Nice one, Adam.
I don't know.
I enjoyed that.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I don't know. We probably bored the shit out of everyone in chat and listening.
Oh, we're nerds.
But yeah, that's correct. That's spot on. It's the degrees. You're using the degrees of a ball, 360 degrees. It's spot on. So no, I'm happy with that.
I think
well done, Adam.
One comment I did see from Charlie was to use radians instead of degrees, and I would agree with him there. If you are using Excel, so when, as you alluded to earlier, we put it into Excel, you can't use standard degrees expression in Excel. You have to convert it into radians, and you can just put equals radians, and it turns that number into radians. So it's easy to do, but you have to use that column for your calculator. And I assume that's what Charlie in chat was referring to, because obviously if you're working on the page there, as we're doing there by hand, you're fine with standard degrees. You don't need to convert into radians.
Dundee in chat says, "Great job, Adam. Evening all. Been listening carefully." I think chat. I think it went over really well. I think the big deciding factor is going to be Uncle Walt there. Being not a math guy, so I even Walt's math ability is probably better than mine. So, Walt, how are you feeling about all this? Is any of this sinking in? Is this?
Oh, for sure. I mean, certainly, it's not something I'll have memorized like the 8 inches I've been playing with for 3 years. You know, the 8 inches per mile squared. But with use and with time, I will get it under my belt.
Keep using your 8 inches per mile squared
Well,
for the smaller distances.
Right,
for the smaller distances, it's fine. Like we just saw 30 miles there that John was using, and it's so, really, really, really close.
Then after that quarter of the globe, what's going to happen? I mean, that's where it's still falling apart for my brain, because I do know that's when you start getting into, well, now you're going back around and you have to start throwing in math I don't get completely, you know, so that's where it's going to start throwing me.
I'm not sure where it would ever be practical to take that into account, though, Walt. You know, once you got quarter of the way around the globe.
As you've explained it, I've actually been tweeting to some of the little debaters that I've been playing with for this last couple of months, and they're all math guys, and I'm, you know, saying, okay, here it is. You've been wanting it. Now let's hear the issues, and that's what I keep getting back is, okay, well, after, you know, that's what I keep asking them. So I know with they've got a formula, and I don't understand it. I've sent it to you guys before, so I'll send it to you again here in just a minute.
This does work all the way around the ball.
So it does work. That's what I'm asking. It does work all the way around.
You see the world record photos that are like 250 and 300 miles, aren't they? The world record photos at the same.
Something like that.
This would be better, because you can bet your ass that when the person is making the video and showing 250 miles, this should have been this much curve, he'll be out, and he'll be out by a fair bit on what it really is. So if you're using long distances, this is the one to use for sure.
But for anything under 100 miles...
Or over 100, okay.
Anything under 100 miles, 8 inches per square mile works fine, I would say.
Right, okay.
That was the critique I could find, John. That's what I put on there, was under 100. It's pretty accurate for as near as, damn it. Certainly to the detail that you're exposing that there's no curvature there in terms of photos. So,
and how many people are claiming to see further than 100 miles? There aren't that many.
No, it's only when you're sitting on top of a mountaintop, isn't it? Those world record photos are seeing things 250 and 300 miles away. Yeah. Big altitudes like 8 kilometers up and 7 kilometers up and shit like that. Probably not Adoi, but yeah.
No, yeah. It's for everyday use. You know, should I be able to see that lighthouse from 30, 40 miles away or whatever, then you know, this would work just as well as the 8 inches per square mile works. Because let's face it, 8 inches per mile squared, although, you know, numerous people have had 3 years of problems trying to remember the 8 inches per mile with the squared on the end, but that's not surprising, seeing as Google for the last 2 years or whatever, or the first 2 years, were saying that the curvature was 8 inches per mile full stop, and then they later changed it thanks to flat earth to miles squared, but it's still dubious. So yeah, for people who can't understand it, that's fine, but 8 inches per mile squared is great. But this works on longer distances all the way to the 90-degree mark and further.
And just to reiterate there, lighthouses can be seen from 30, 40, 50 miles away, probably further on really, really good days.
Well, Statue of Liberty's been seen from 60 miles away.
To see.
Rob,
it's impossible to see these things, yeah.
I was talking the last time I was on the show, maybe 3 weeks ago, about keeping it simple. That in itself, man. You cannot see a lighthouse after 30 miles. It's 40 miles. How? It's impossible. That alone proves that the Earth is not what they say.
A lighthouse is useless. It's useless if the Earth's curved. A lighthouse is useless. Really?
It's pretty funny if you think about it. Why would you need a lighthouse on a ball?
Especially with a Fresnel lens that focuses it and shoots it out literally perpendicular to the lighthouse. So if it was, if it was a ball, then they would have developed lenses that were designed to actually bend that light further around the ball, but they use Fresnel lenses, which focus a beam.
Not widen the spectrum.
There's many a mariner knows full well, whether they know it or not, they know full well the Earth is flat.
And I don't care how much refraction it is. It's not going to bend like that much. I don't care.
I bet you a lot of those are the guys that are too afraid to speak up just yet, but they know in their heart, like a lot of the airline pilots do, but they're just waiting for the ball to drop.
Yeah, the ball to drop. A nice one. Yeah, but no, you're right, Rob. Refraction, I used to factor in 14% or whatever refraction into it. But the truth is that depending on the atmospheric conditions of the day, refraction can make the object rise, it can make it fall, it can, on the majority of most days, you're not looking through a different medium to the target. You're looking through the same air that you're, between you and the target, it's the same air. I mean, it might be saturated in water, it might be this, that, and the other, but it's not a different medium, which is what refraction needs essentially to work. So refraction, it can pull an object up, it can push an object back down again, and it's more likely to push it back down than to pull it up, so that something further away is visible when it shouldn't be.
Yep, spot on.
It's all falling apart.
I've got a couple things after the break I'd like to share just about distances, zoom capabilities, that military laser proof, and a bit about Doppler radars. And when you can find time, Josh, maybe after the break I could add
James, I think now's a great chance to play that best zoom video, mate. It kind of accentuates the point exactly.
Especially so maybe if it ends in gravity.
Oh, it's beautiful. What a play out. It's beautiful.
Oh, let's do it. I mean, there was a lot of people waiting to get their numbers plugged in, but let's plug this one in later.
So we stick that on and grab a coffee. I'd need a drink, man. I've done my mouth's as dry as a bone.
Here. Yes, sir. I'm sure you do.
I have some breaking news, too, about Bill Nye. I'll save that for the Fringe, but this is big, guys. Big news about Bill Nye.
Is he coming on?
Is he a woman?
You'll have to stick around. You'll have to stick around.
I'd like to talk to Bill. Bill's a good guy. And he's hard. He's good.
Well, sweet. Well, that does bring us to, sort of the top of the 5 o'clock hour. We did roll through a little bit, but that does seem to be a great time to take a break. James, I got your video pulled up, so we'll play it through the break. It's almost 7 minutes, just 10 seconds shy of 7. So there'll be plenty of time to go hit the head, grab the coffee, do whatever we need to do, and be back in time. So yeah, that's great. I think that was a great first hour, Adam. You really nailed it. That was a great presentation, much better than your one from Italy, because the connection was better.
And we can hear you. You're right. We could hear you this time. It was great, man.
I weren't sat on the floor behind the back of the TV for a start, so that helps.
I didn't get it.
Well, that's all right.
Even though I did you your own special crib sheet.
Don't
worry. Because I did it on slides, I've got a handout I can send you, so put it in the van.
Sweet. So we're going to go ahead and take our little gravity break. We'll be back on the other side. Shout out to Billy Ray Valentine, who, by the way, should be on not next Friday, but Friday after that. Friday the 13th special episode with our good friend Billy Ray Valentine of the Infinite Fringe on Truth Frequency Radio and Podbean fame.
Excellent. Nice. Look forward to that.
And next week, we've even got a guest already lined up for next week. Knock on wood. We should have Stan Smith Flat Earth Stan coming on to talk some more 360 camera stuff. He's been making the rounds, been on the Sun and Moon YouTube page channel. That's what I was looking for. So yeah, we're gonna have him on again to talk some more 360 stuff. That's gonna be really exciting.
Whilst you're on that, Josh, I was listening to that and had a quick chat with Stan. And one thing he is putting an appeal out for is for more people to put some of these 360 cameras up. I think him, Zed Proxy, and Cosmic Surfer I think, as using his words, at the limit of the data and the inference they can draw from it, and would really appreciate the community's help.
Hey, what about BOB buys us all one?
There you go. That's be a lot less than $1 million, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'll shut up now.
I'm sure BOB's listening, so we can go ahead and give him our our PayPal account. That way he can go ahead and make that deposit, so we can get our 360 cameras around the plane. Would be swell.
Good of him. But anybody, if they contact Stan Smith, you know what I mean, in terms of if they're interested in that, basically he's interested in, receiving your data on a sort of fortnightly download with obviously you hate the phrase GPS data of where you are, and I think the guys have reached the level of data processing that they really do need the community's help there. So anyone can help, get in touch with Stan Smith.
And they're not that terribly expensive, but a little more than I could afford offhand. But man, the footage they get's great. All right, so here's James in the Full Armor OG. I mean, one of his latest videos. It's almost at 900 views right now. We're 899 views. James just put this up yesterday, so that's really awesome.
Can you share it in Hangouts?
You know what? Give me just half a tick that way.
Cheers, bud.
I surely can. And I want this one. All right. So we will see everybody else on the backside of this break. A little more than I could afford offhand. God, who the hell is that voice? All right, let's get the hell out of here before I have to hear that again.
See you later. See you in a bit.
up pretty high. Our heads are almost in the clouds, and their feet are chained to the ground with their chains of misery. They've got a hold of me. They won't let go of me. Let go of me. They might have gravity on their side, but something's pulling us high. Got the potential to fly. Don't let them be what holds you back from this one incredible chance. They're lucky to have had a glance at you while you defy gravity. They can be cruel and mean, and a smile can be the sign they're missing out on their rainy day. They might have gravity on their side, but something's pulling us high. Got the potential to fly. Don't let them be what holds you back from this one incredible chance. They're lucky to have had a glance at you while you defy gravity. You defy gravity. They say we aren't strong enough, we don't have what it takes. I say yeah, they're wrong enough, and we'll show them someday. They might have gravity on their side, but something's pulling us high. Got the potential to fly. Oh yeah, don't let them be what holds you back from this one incredible chance. They're lucky to have had a glance at you while you defy gravity. You defy gravity. You defy gravity. Yeah, yeah. At you while you defy gravity.
Great stuff, James. I dug it.
Very good.
Nice. Love it.
Who was the original off, James?
Oh shoot, Grudalone, I think it was there on the bottom right, and yeah, good video. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Is my little disappearing boat a contender as well for the 2007 Zoom Awards?
So's your island one, actually. That's impressive. Your beach. You son of a beach. You found it.
I didn't actually, did I? That was Hinchinbrook Island. I don't know what that was actually. Don't know.
I tell you, I definitely needed that break. So it's good to be back and good to have used the facilities and get a beverado, and I'm ready for round two. I think it's been a great show.
Hey, Josh, occasionally you're sounding like you're in traffic or something. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, that's not me. It's definitely somebody, but not me.
Not me.
Not me, as far as I'm aware.
Mute yourself, Mr. Meakin. It's you.
How you doing, Walt?
Yeah, that's who it is.
How you doing?
Alright.
Walt?
Oh man, have I got to turn my heater off? Is that what you?
That could be it.
Is that better?
Sit in the cold, mate.
Suffer for your art. That's terrible.
Get
Go on,
a
then.
headset.
I've got a headset. I just put that lovely microphone, didn't I? It's obviously needs tuning.
All right, what's next?
Well, we had a whole lot of flat Earth in the news this week. For flat earthers, you know, we usually are making news for ourselves and sort of the interwebs as we post our truth about flat Earth. But this was some more big names this week. We had B.O.B. make some big announcement. We had Kyrie Irving come out. And we had what looked to be an inordinate amount of sort of I'll call it an S post. It's, you know, where you're just obviously making stuff up, where you're just looking for sensational headlines by making up some crazy story that might sound maybe halfway legit. And then you put it up on some faux news internet site that you created and design it to give it some air of legitimacy, and then people pick up on it and treat it as it's real, and you sort of get the duper's delight that you made up the story and you made people think it's real, and it's this whole thing. So there's been several of those flat earth stories out this week too. So I did want to talk about some of that stuff, but I did want to give James a chance to talk about some of the videos he's put out, because he's been cranking them out like a madman. So I wanted to give him the floor a little bit and let him discuss about some of the videos he's put out and the direction that he's going with his channel. So this would be your turn, James.
I mean, that's impressive. Thank you. I've been putting together videos quite frequently, and I'm getting a little bit better, I think, at planning and coming up with things. And just the talk we had a few weeks ago about keeping it simple got me back into thinking like that proof that Rob found when he just happened to, you know, listen to that radio station, which is kind of like the equivalent of like a CBC in Canada, where you phone in and, you know, you got little experts and whatever, and they answer questions, or they, you know, point in the right direction. And yeah, it's very similar. They have that stuff everywhere. But the one that I'm talking about is the military laser proof. So the guy phones in, and you guys might remember he was talking about a triple system. So they use a Doppler radar, and like so Doppler radar is like it's kind of just like a specialized radar that produces, you know, a Doppler effect, which kind of basically just is like a neat way to tell you precisely how fast something's moving at. And it does that based on sound waves, and there's a whole lot to it. It's not perfectly reliable, which is why I'm just trying to outline why the military use 3 things to actually acquire a firing solution, because these things aren't perfect. So they actually use 3 different techniques in this one video. They use the Doppler radar effect to get an estimation of, you know, how fast the target may be moving and its position. They will also then use a thermal imaging, which I did a lot of digging into that last night. I mean, you're talking about $15,000 to $20,000 standalone platforms that are capable of doing up to 35 miles accurately with a laser beam and a pulse, and you know, are able to do the targets that way with a heads-up display that's top of line, 8-inch. You know, so just from the capability standpoint, they're saying that their laser beam can paint a target that's 30 miles. Okay, and that's on the thermal imaging one. And then finally, just to, like, you know, seal the deal, you're going to die. We're going to lock you out here. The people on the deck of these, attack freighters and whatnot, they will actually go out, and whether it's a shoulder-mounted one like Walt had shown an example in the video, or it's one of these larger military tripod ones, these suckers can light up a target, like paint the target, and it's all line of sight. So we know, and I mean, going back to the new curvature formula that Adam laid out, even if we plug in, what the numbers that the guy phones in on, it's impossible. It is dead impossible to be able to do it. Just like a lighthouse, just like so many other things, they're lying. So that's the military proof one, and you can go ahead and play that now, Josh. I love it. I think we should play it now that I've explained it a little bit more, and I just think the answer is hilarious too. A high antenna. Great stuff there.
So where did you put that link?
I would have put it in the folder made for links and media. I actually did my job for a change.
Folder or the chat room with the links?
It's the media and links.
Okay,
thread.
right. All right, cool. I see it. You got it, John?
I think so. The one right under the Zoom that we just watched.
I think that's it.
You betcha. And I just got to say again, Walt, you did an unbelievable job on this, man.
I just had fun with it. It was great.
All right, here's a quick little vid.
Without going into anything too classified, like our missile guidance systems can kind of they use Doppler radar to locate a target, and then we use a 2-inch laser to actually lock on. And I've recently observed that we were out at sea, and the target was 27 miles away, which is about 27 nautical miles, which is about 31 miles. Is that correct? Right about that. That actually needs line of sight to actually work. But with the kind of the curvature of the Earth formula, at 8 inches per mile squared. Is that correct?
So what is the drop in the curve of the Earth for each mile you go across, a nautical mile? How much do you drop?
Well, it's 8 inches per mile squared. Not nautical mile, but I worked out to it. 8 miles. So at 31 miles, it should be 8 inches per mile squared, which is 100 and I think it works out 195 meters. It should be the drop that we're picking up. We pick up the target with the Doppler radar and the laser, and also the thermal imaging. That kind of needs line of sight too. So I'm just kind of baffled how those systems can work when you need line of sight at that distance.
Okay, so presumably you've got a high antenna, so that you can then look around the curve of the Earth. The other formula is the famous 1-2-3 rule, which is that the distance to the horizon, measured in ordinary miles, sorry about the units, is 1.23 multiplied by the height of the observer's eyes above sea level, the height being in feet. So if you're 16 feet, if your eyes are 16 feet above sea level, the square root of 16 is 4. 4 by 1.23 is about 6 miles. 6 miles is about 10 kilometres. So presumably you've got a high tower on the ship so you can peek over the curve of the horizon.
Hey, thanks for the call, Mitchell.
Some of the formulas there, that 1.23 or I've never heard of that stuff before.
The 1-2-3.
Yeah.
Right, that he was just coming up with on the spot.
You're just baffling you with bullshit.
This is what my mom.
I have heard. I have heard a couple of other flat Earth questions on that show. I don't listen to the show very often, so for me to hear, I heard one about crepuscular rays, and I can't think off the top of my head what the other one was, but it seems he's getting a few. I'd say they'd be censoring, because when you ring up that show, the girl would ask you what you're going to ask, and then she would put you through onto live. So if you were going to say a flat Earth question and you're going to express it like that, you wouldn't even get on the show. I'd say you would have to. There's no way, because the girl that hosts the show, she knows what you're going to ask before she even says it. She goes, "Oh, you've got a good question, haven't you, Freddie?" And
so it'd be funny, Rob, if someone came on the show or rang into the show with a pre-programmed sort of dogmatic climate global warming question or something that they'd all rub their hands with.
Yeah, that's true.
And then
hit
them with the flat Earth.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely.
a suggestion.
Absolutely.
This is a common tactic. There was a DJ here in America, Howard Stern, and his producer had a nickname of Baba Booey. So all the Howard Stern fans would do this to other radio stations. They'd call in and they'd feed their call screeners some big line of BS about, climate change or something. So then they'd get on the air, and then he'd start doing this whole spiel of just talking out of his butt. Then right in the middle, he'd just drop a big Baba Booey. And then everybody would realize, this is just somebody from the Howard Stern show. And then they would hang up on him, and it becomes a big ordeal. Then Howard would play it on the show the next day, and everybody, all a big Baba Booey.
It's a little bit like last week, really, isn't it? With someone claiming.
We just have that?
Yeah, someone claiming that, they can prove the curvature of the Earth just to get on air and just to get the link to join it, and then send it out to all his dumbass mates to sabotage or try at
Cats
least.
and whatnot.
Yeah,
Josh, I have one
that was
quick request. I just notified I have a friend coming over, but I just wanted to see if you could play that big news about Bill Nye. I mean, I just wanted to get that out there for the listeners before I have to duck out here. It's big news. Big news.
Well, we hate to see you leaving us already, James. You just came back, man. Shoot.
I just had a friend pop in with his little 6-month-old. So.
Nice. That's nice. That's nice.
But I'll be back. So, but you guys are going to be shocked. This is big news, folks. Big news.
All right, guys. Prepare yourself. Sit down. Light a cigarette. Calm your nerves.
This is hilarious, guys. Look at this.
I hope you're not building us up, James, and then shooting us down.
He's dead, folks. He was born in 1916 and he died in 1955. There's no more. It's Bill Nye. It's the end.
What's the actual? What in the actual?
Yep, he's dead. This big climate change target thing must have done him in, folks. That's hilarious. That is pretty funny. Yep. But anyways, just to give the folks who don't know, this guy's incredible, man. I mean, he is actually named William Sanford Nye. He's a science communicator, whatever that means. I think it means windbag, used car salesman for craptacular theories that they want to shove down our throat like candies. Oh, a television presenter. Excellent work, Bill. Mechanical engineer. Yes, and yes. Sounds like Bill is just terrific. He's great, and he doesn't look creepy at all. He didn't have a creepy interview with, Tucker Carlson. No, he didn't. So, but look at this. I mean, he's just great. He's great. He's the science guy. What's this? You say to walking in an elevator. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Let's see this.
So I'm not understanding. So he's taken on someone's identity, is he? Is that what you're saying?
Folks, your guaranteed globe. What do you got here? Your little dome, of course, mocking in our face. And some other bullshit, like that little NASA logo. Oh, look. It's a satellite. Yes. It's an excellent picture of satellite, perhaps.
So our deepest condolences.
Oh, I'm sad, man. Yes. I hate when an actor dies. It makes me sad.
So has he taken on the real Bill Nye's identity? Is that what James is trying to say there?
Who knows?
I don't think so. I think he was just pointing out nonsense. I mean, the dates don't work. I think it's just silly. Just the
When does it say he was born? 1960?
What? No, I think he was born in 1955 and he died in 1916.
Oh, okay.
No, I was born in 1912 or something like that and died in 1955. I think that's what he said. You guys.
That they want to shove down our throat like candies.
All right. So it says lived, November 27, 1955 1916. So you tell me how to read that.
What the?
I can't read it. It's too small for me.
He's Merlin.
It's too small for me.
He's living backwards through time, growing younger. Or he's from Orc, one or the other.
What was that?
Can you maximize that, Josh?
I can. Just go to Bing and search Bill Nye.
So it's saying what? Born something.
November 27th, 1955 through 1916.
Okay, right. Even if that was 2016, it would be odd.
What was that Brad Pitt movie? The Curious Life of somebody. Benjamin Buttons. There you go.
Benjamin Button.
That's Bill Nye. He's going to poof out into existence. He's going to turn into a sperm. He's going to split apart into a sperm and an egg.
Well, he does seem to be getting more childish by the minute, so maybe you're correct.
Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to be aging in reverse. Looking a bit like
no, he's looking pretty rough these days.
Hey, the platforms in James's last video, how far were they away?
That's a good question.
I think I remember them being at least 10 miles away or even further.
I don't think the distance was that relevant, wasn't it? It was the similarity or lack of change of perspective, really.
Yeah.
Well, no, in the first shot, he's only about a foot off the water. So, yeah, it is really relevant. I think they're a long way. I think they're a fair way apart too. Them two pylons, other platforms, aren't they?
It was hard to see on the Google thing, but the thing I took from it was that there's no perspective change really. The only thing you don't see there's a slight interference in terms of wave height, isn't there, on the 1 feet one? But I know what you mean. Mathematically, yeah, it does. It is.
I've just got his ice on tracker in chat saying should be 33 feet of hidden.
Good old ice.
At 1 foot, but I think they're at least, the first one's at least 9 miles away, and the second one's further away. So in my eyes, you shouldn't be seeing much of that. The one that's furthest away, you shouldn't be seeing much of that at all. But yeah, I'm going to have to get. I'm sure it said on a video that I watch. I thought it had the distances of them, but we just did the maths show. Ice on tracker. We just did the maths. So go to the start of the video. Work out what Adam was saying, and then go and work it out for yourself, all right? Because 9 miles is I think he's written here, 9 miles for the first one. 9 by 9 is 81, 3/4, 2/3 of that. You're looking at about 60 feet, 55, 60 feet. All right.
To Flat Earth in the news. You'll set up a GoFundMe. You know what? I've done a lot of talking this show, more than I usually do. I want to kick this over to Walt. Walt's pretty learned in this area here anyway. He follows BOB. He was talking to BOB's management there for a time. Let's have Walt tell us about all this BOB stuff.
Well, what I'm seeing Yes, I'm here. I see that he has now put up a crowdfund for launching a satellite into space to show him the curvature. Now, my first immediate reaction was, that's hilarious. He's obviously making a joke, this is my thoughts. Obviously making a joke to draw more attention to this whole thing, because he knows there's no real space, there's no real satellites, and there's no way to see a curvature. So all these people who are freaking out that he's this shill and that he's doing this to get money. Now, granted, the money part of it, I don't get. We know he's stacking big stacks. So that part, if he kicks in his half, then yeah, I'll gladly send some money. But I don't really, I think this is more to draw attention to this and get it in the news. And I mean, literally every day when I go to do some kind of search, it comes up on my Google alerts that he's got this going on. Every time I go, it's another source putting this out there. And as we all know, the last time he did this and made it hit the news, it made a huge influx of new people looking into flat earth. And we were all there waiting to greet them with, like, here's some knowledge, go look at the real stuff. So we know that this whole realm is filled with some people who are misinformed, disinformed, putting out fake stuff. I like his music. I've listened to his lyrics. I had a good time at his show. I was very fortunate at the show. I was up front, had quite a bit of interaction with him. Didn't get to actually talk to him, but from the stage, it was a blast. His management and I talked for quite a bit trying to get him on the show. That never happened. I've actually started that back up again now that he's got this out there, hoping that, we could get him over here and see what he has to say about it. Who knows? Knock on wood, we'll get him on. So I myself, anything that's bringing the attention of the general populace to this and making them look at it, either they'll find some truth or they'll laugh and go away. At this point, I've seen the picture of him with the certificate or whatever it is from the Flat Earth Society, and people are putting that up, saying, see the shill. Again, that came out within weeks of him finding this whole flat earth thing. And because I was following him as a whole different thing. I found him tied to the whole cloning Donald Marshall thing. I was looking into that, and he was tweeting about that. And then suddenly I saw in his tweet line that he was also tweeting about flat earth. So it was like, oh, okay, so this dude's all over the place with a lot. And if you listen to his music, which I think, John, you've listened to quite a bit of B.O.B., haven't you? He talks about just about any conspiracy you can think of. He brings attention to it. And again, planting seeds, getting people to look at stuff. I think it's all for the better, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I only came across B.O.B. through the Flat Earth, and saw he had 3 million Twitter followers. I'd never heard of him, but that's not surprising. I haven't heard of numerous people, but he was tweeting about all sorts of stuff. It's not just flat Earth. I mean, he to me he seems like the same sort of person as you or I, who is on a journey of discovery,
Indeed.
that is finding this stuff out. Just because he's a rapper, he's famous, he's got a wedge. Who cares? I mean, as far as I can see, he's tweeting flat Earth. For people to think that just because B.O.B. tweets a link to the Flat Earth Society or whatever, the reason you're a flat earther is because you saw through this shit. That you can discern things for yourself. You can research things and decide from the evidence presented whether it's right or wrong. If some flat earther, self-proclaimed or whatever, retweets something or states something that is inaccurate or is wrong or is leading you to a site that is full of shit, then have a bit of faith in the people around you. Have a bit of faith in those that have woken up to the flat earth to begin with. I mean, to do that is something incredible, that you're really not going to be swayed. I mean, you've already been through the Alex Jones phase. You've been through the Anunnaki, the Sitchin, the Velikovsky, every other phase that you can think of, and you've discerned your way through to this point to realize that, whether if you're in the position to realize that the Earth is flat and stationary, then you're not going to be swayed by anyone that puts anything out, no matter how much of a guru or a figure they are. Their information is no more valuable than anyone else's, and it needs to be taken on investigation and discernment for yourself to realize what is true and what is not. And if you come across people that are putting stuff out that is not true or misinformation, you were savvy enough to realize that it wasn't true and it was disinformation. Let other people be savvy and realize that it's not true and disinfo either, and just take the best and leave the rest. If someone disagrees with you, don't retweet it. Don't give it any information. Don't give it any of your energy. You don't have to sit there and make 300 videos about how they're a shill and a CIA operative or whatever. Who gives a shit? Just take the best and leave the rest.
Well, there's so
This
much
is the way.
going on now.
This is the way that I see the BOB wanting money issue. Say he's got $50 million in the bank, and I'm throwing a number out there because he's loaded apparently. If he's got 50 million and he wants 1 million, that's like me having $5,000 in the bank and going to spend 100, which would happen all the time to normal people all the time. They have $5,000 in the bank and they spend 100. That's the equivalent. That's what we're looking at here. A person that's got 50 million and going to spend, it's nothing. It's nothing to these people. So for him to want the money in the first place, it's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Well, all I'd say is you're assuming he has money. I mean, we all know you're loaded. We all know Adam's a multi-millionaire.
Right now is $5 million. That's his net worth right now. I just looked it up according to the intrawebs. He has a net worth of $5 million. So,
and what do you think?
I think the point is that he's asking for donations, and no one is obliged to donate. I mean, that's called consent. Rob, you could put out a request for donations, and no one is obliged to consent. So you can either ignore it, or give to it, or not. It doesn't really matter. I mean, the fact that you think you need £1 million to prove that the Earth is flat and stationary just is.
That's the other bizarre part, isn't it? He wants $1 million. Funny how this $1 million is everywhere. Brahma wanted $1 million. What's the $1 million? Is that like the perfect cutoff point for proving things that you want to know about? Is it?
I think it's a point where people don't. I think it's a point where people realise that you're serious and you're not joking. But that's just complete.
I think it's opposite in this case. I think for BOB, it's kind of the point where he's getting it to that $1 million mark to show that it's almost on the ludicrous side. In chat, We Are Waking Up says BOB messaged him today, said LOL to space. So he's thinking that BOB was just joking. So I guess that's cool.
Well,
I wish BOB would.
He did say, he said launching satellites into space, etc., etc. But he was also putting out an appeal for anyone that had experiments that they would consider, I don't know, maybe sort of a slush fund for experiments. I mean, my obviously my thing would be to build a gyroscope. Since you can't buy one anymore, build a bloody gyroscope. And I know there are people, I've got people that are following me that are capable of doing this. They could build a gyroscope that is certifiable to measure less than 10 degrees an hour or whatever, 5 degrees an hour. it wouldn't be difficult at all, and that would cost probably $5,000. So, forget your million.
Well, we're sitting here talking this out, and I'm starting to see how it could be sort of a united front. Hey, Vagabond, we've actually invited B.O.B. on the show. Walt, when we first started IronRealmMedia, Walt was already in talks with his management.
The big plan was to get him on our first show. It definitely was happening. Literally, I was standing at the backstage door waiting for it to happen, and female intervention, shall we say.
Hey, groupies. But what are the chances that B.O.B. and Kyrie Irving are actually talking to each other behind the scenes? These two big named people. Because also this week, Kyrie Irving came out in a podcast. It was spun as Kyrie Irving sort of walking back his flat earth comments a little bit, saying he was just trolling everybody and that it was all this big sort of elaborate thing. I saw the headline on my Google alert and went and first thing I did was listen to the darn interview. And not once did I ever hear him. I'm not even sure I even heard him say the words flat earth, let alone I was just joking about the whole flat earth thing. And then Jaron came out with his video basically saying, good job, Kyrie, you trolled all the globe heads. So basically what I saw was sort of Jaron took away from it. What I did was it was sort of a big elaborate troll, but not in walking back his flat earth views, but in sort of perpetuating them. Sort of saying, look, you guys are going to believe whatever you want to believe. And for some reason, if I say that I believe the earth is flat, that's going to make headline news. So it's not that he was walking back on it. He's just saying, look at how crazy you guys act in trying to call me crazy. So I just thought it was all kind of interesting that all this would be coming out on the same week, within days, if not the same day. I don't remember.
I think if you're informed enough to actually slip it to the press that you're a flat earther, then you are literally never going to go back to being on the ball. Ever.
Unless you're Shaq.
Right, there was Shaq. But I don't... he wasn't necessarily that serious.
No, I didn't think
to begin with. I don't think anybody that heard it thought, oh, yay, now Shaq's a flat earther.
Or was he just a sellout?
He was just a sellout. He was just trying to capitalize on the flat earth meme, I think, and trying to just get his name back in the headlines.
Or does he know it's fully flat and is just a sellout and has backtracked like so many others have?
Well, I think this lends to a subject that I saw on a hangout earlier about Freemasons and whether or not Freemasons know that the earth is flat. And I think that's a really good question. With the black and white tiles and the two perpendicular towers, I think there could be an argument to be made that they are showing us a flat plane and have been the whole time. With the dome over top of it, if you start looking at some of these icons that the Freemasons use, it sure looks like they're showing us encoding a flat plane covered by a dome.
Yeah, I agree. What always confused me about the Freemason iconography was Noah's Ark. It was like, what the hell's that doing there?
See, I think this is going to go back to the sort of ancient watchers and fallen angels and the recreation of humankind through a separate bloodline, being Noah. Again, I'm talking interesting.
I was going to actually say, speaking of the sellout thing, a lot of people that are still in chat talking about the B.O.B. issue. Again, historically in his history, both his actual career and what he's written about in his music. I mean, at one point he was singing songs about aliens, like literally songs, saying that aliens are real and created us. He was on the whole Sitchin trip. Now he talks about the Watchers and talks about the Eye of the Predator, and he knows that what we see or what we're being told are these aliens out there might not be exactly that. And
well,
then
I
in his
don't know
career,
about you,
he was
Walt.
a huge star. He was huge. I mean, he was doing songs with Taylor Swift and Mark. I don't know. I'm not a pop person, so I don't know all the people he was with. I've just seen the videos as they passed through. And then left that to put out free music, talking about that you have to sell your soul to be famous. You have to do all these rituals, talking about the people that are dying in that are, being literally killed. He talks about all of that in this music that he's not making money on. He's giving it away free. I paid like $20 for my ticket, so I can't imagine he made a whole big amount on that concert.
Well, I mean, what were you? I mean, I know what I was into, say, let's say 10 years ago, 2007 or so. I mean, I was reading Zachariah Sitchin,
Yes,
I was
sir,
reading
I was as well.
Velikovsky, I was reading Electric
Yes, sir.
Universe. I mean,
yes, sir.
I bought the
Stanislav Grof. I read his Holotropic
Stanislav.
Universe.
Yeah,
Love it.
and the Infinite Universe. I mean, this is a very new thing for me. I
was a huge Carlos Castaneda fan. I read all of those books.
Yeah,
so, lots of paths, my friend. I know what you're saying.
But that's what I mean, is that, if we were asked a decade ago what the likely scenario is, probably the answer would have been something that included species from off-planet and alien-wise. And now I look at that sort of thing and I'm just like, nah, everything's changed.
Right, I know.
But Bob B.O.B. could have been the same, couldn't he? Exactly. I mean, at this point, I'd still like to give him the benefit of the doubt and the respect. I'm not kissing his ass or anything. I'm just saying that if he is who he says he is, then respect to him for coming out with 3 million plus followers on Twitter or whatever. I'm not kissing his ass or anything. I'm just, I would like, what I really liked was Horry Sheet's email to him on his GoFundMe saying, can you please drop names of prominent flat earthers like Jeranism and Globebusters and Bob and all these other prominent Globebusters that prominent flat earthers that
right.
It really wouldn't hurt. And it would send, in one tweet, it would send 3 million people to, people's accounts. Whether you like Jeranism or Globebusters or Bob or ODD or whatever, yeah, okay, whatever. You may like them and may dislike them, but they're spreading the flat earth truth as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. That's it.
If they're saying it's stationary and it's flat, then I'm on board.
So let's go from people that think the earth is flat trying to troll globe believers to globe believers trying to troll flat earthers, because there's been several of those articles out this week too. The one I have up on the screen right now is the one, the Trump science advisor that denies the Apollo moon landings ever happened. This is from worldnewsdailyreport.com, which, doesn't take a genius to figure out that it's probably not a very reputable news source. But the fact that it's getting put out there, I think this does tend to lend credence to the idea that people do tend to hit that retweet button awfully quick, or tend to not really pay too much attention to what it is they're reading.
Guilty today on that one.
Same, me too, absolutely. And I think that's why they're doing it, because there's this one. There was one about the Google Earth lead developer saying that he thinks the Earth is a flat plane. That really, again, turned out to be a whole bunch of nonsense that went nowhere. Let's see, there was another one. I don't remember. Some other guy saying that he believed the Earth was flat. That either the whole thing he was trolling with that, or the whole article itself was a troll. I don't know.
Now, even as we were getting ready for the show, I was looking for some further vetting here for this Trump science advisor, for Gillertner. I'm not even sure how to say his name, but The only thing I did find numerous references to in pretty reputable sources, Yale's, Time, I mean, just different, known sources, is that he denies that man-made climate change is a thing. He definitely is a denier of climate change. So,
and see,
that's interesting.
One of those things where it's somebody who is doing what we were just talking about other people doing, that saw somebody talking about Trump's science advisor being a flat earther or using the flat earth mentality because he doesn't believe in the standard model of man-made climate change, because that's the narrative that's being pushed in the mainstream media, is trying to connect climate change with science deniers connected to flat earthers. So maybe they just jumped to that connection and went ahead and wrote this thing up real quick without checking anything. Quite possible too. I tend to lead that it's probably more nefarious than that, but what do I know? But just some things to be on the lookout when you're seeing flat earth in the news. Just make sure you're using your discernment. Just like John said, everything has good stuff and bad stuff in it. Even the stuff that IronRealmMedia puts out, not everything may be relevant to you, or maybe we put out the occasional wrong information, which does happen from time to time. But feel free to fact checks. And again, anybody that doesn't tell you to do your own research, anybody that says just trust us when we say blah, 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 that's the first clue you shouldn't be trusting anything they say. So just with articles, with IronRealmMedia, with Globebusters, Flat Earth, Globe Earth, anything you do, your mom, your grandma, double check the facts and just use your discernment. Think for yourself and research it yourself.
I concur.
And that puts us right at about the 2-hour mark.
Absolutely.
What do you say we call that a show, gentlemen? Was there anything else anybody had pressing? I know we had another list of stuff. We still have things we can go over.
No, I think that's a great place to finish, dude.
So. That's a good place to put a pin in it, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, then let's do that. Let's put a pin in it, and all the stuff that we do still have, we'll come back to next week.
Sweet.
Cool. We never did get Chris on either. Did you ever see that message I sent you, Walt? Because I couldn't find any Chris's contact info to send him the link.
Oh, no, man. I feel terrible because I thought maybe we'd flaked out on it, and I've had my phone turned down for the show, as always. So I just assumed we'd gotten busy or he had gotten busy.
Well, how about we do this?
Why don't we get him out on the Fringe?
We can try that. I got to do a little get-together with BRV to help him set up his mixer. He's had a mixer sitting in his closet, a nice, great, big old mixing board for his microphone that he's not ever been using. So I'm going to try to help him get that shit set up, that stuff set up, so that he can sound maybe a little bit more powerful on his mic on TFR. So I don't know how active I'll be in the Fringe, but I think I can probably arrange something. I think maybe.
I'm hip.
Sweet. Well, let's do that. Let's kill this one. We'll play Gravity again because I think Alba said that my levels on that on James's video were a little low, so he couldn't hear Gravity the way he'd like. And as a side note, just a personal thing I've been noticing when I watch YouTube videos, just something I would like to see, is everybody cranking up their levels on all of their videos. Because I do so much listening on my phone, I always wish my phone volume would go up higher, or that they would just upload their videos at a higher volume. But, this is just me talking out my
old man.
Turn it off.
That's it. Oh, also, Sunday will be my big 4-0. I'll be hitting 40. So, not that
Happy birthday, Day.
Definitely no link between those announcements then.
None that I'm aware of.
Happy birthday, dude.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. So, yeah, we have next week. Let's try to get Chris on next week. We'll have Stan, and then we'll have Chris on later.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Well, I'm going to bow out. Yeah, I've got to bow out.
All right, John.
It's been a great show. Really enjoyed it. Yep.
Glad you're feeling better, man.
Yeah, getting there. Some good talking points. I'll catch you next week.
All right, sleep well. Have a good weekend.
Take care.
Ta-ra, guys.
God bless, John.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, well, let's. I might head that way myself.
And I
in the morning, and that was
all right.
that was a great show. Thanks, guys, for
it was
putting
an
up with
amazing
me.
show. Thank you so much, Adam. That was amazing, brother.
Oh, pleasure. Good fun. Hopefully, it's of some use.
I think we'll be able to even edit that up a little bit and put it out as its own video.
As its own little thing, yeah. Section. I was thinking the same thing, my friend. All right, well, for sure, Chris, I know you're out there watching. Sorry that we got a little bit over, stretched with time on all the presentation and the bits of news we covered. We will definitely get you on next week, and thank you for being there for us, brother. We appreciate it. Everybody go check out Chris's channel. It's Flat Earth Wax. He's got some great stuff. He doesn't just cover Flat Earth. Actually, he's got quite a bit about spirituality, a lot about cannabis cultivation. Definitely a great channel to go check out. So go head out to his channel, sub, like.
You can do the same with ours if you don't mind.
While you're here, you might as well thumb up and share it and sub if you haven't. We appreciate it, guys. Everybody in chat, we appreciate it. We love you guys. All the great talk on the math that I still see going on there, you guys. I wish there was a way we could capture all that and keep it, because we need to get you guys in one of our chat rooms for sure on Twitter. If you guys aren't on Twitter in the chat, get on Twitter with us. That's where we hang out. That's how we got to know each other. That's where we found everybody. Coming up pretty soon, actually, there's the Flat Earth meetup in Missouri that Josh has got set up. So the date is eluding me. Oh, look at you. You're pulling it up on the screen. My goodness. He is the man. What you got? What's the date again, Josh? I'm terrible with dates. The 15th, October 15th.
That's it. October 15th. Let's try.
As we're doing Flat Earth meetups, I'll give a shout out for one that was announced this week, the Flat Earth UK convention. And I think that's going to be in Birmingham on 27, 28 and 29th of April next year, 2018. So I suppose
and
more
then
stuff will follow.
Another meetup shout out. I'm trying to get the date on it. I believe the 5th. I may be wrong. I'm trying to get to it. I apologize again, Chris. So much going on, man. But the Flat Earth Oregon has a new meetup. It is coming up, I believe, the 5th, if I'm not correct. Yes, it is coming up on the 5th. So if you're in the northwest corner of the states, if you haven't met up with any of Flat Earthers in your area, it is so amazing to go find out that we are real people and we just have some great questions about what's going on in the world around us. Chris's event that I went to was a blast. So if you haven't gone, guys, get out there, go check it out.
Yeah, so if you check out the screen, I do have the event pulled up on eventbrite.com. Just do a little Google search of Show Me the Curve, Flat Earth Meetup. Missouri is the show me state. So that just seemed pretty appropriate. It was actually, this was really interesting. I didn't even know this. I've been in Missouri my whole life. And we're called the show me state because of a quote from somebody actually quite a while ago. Let me pull it up. It was really interesting, especially for flat earthers. I think it's pretty appropriate. See, of course, now my computer is being laggy. It is frothy eloquence neither convinces nor satisfies me. I'm from Missouri. You've got to show me. So that's why they call Missouri the show me state. Why I named the event the Show Me the Curve Flat Earth Meetup.
Nice.
So October 15th we're calling it 6 to 10. If I can count on two hands the number of people that show up, I'll consider it a success. So it may not even be till 10 o'clock. It may just be me sitting alone, twiddling my thumbs. But there it is. I think that's going to be fun at the very least. I'm going to try to actually set up my microphone and my laptop so we'll be able to do interviewing. I'll have my phone camera hooked up and my web camera hooked up, so we'll be able to at least get a view of everybody that's there. And ideally, I will be broadcasting live, all of that live. So we'll see how that works. I will be working that day. So I've got 2 hours to go home, change, take a shower, get cleaned up, and get back up somewhere to get all that stuff set up. So that should be fun. But that's everything I've got, I think. Again, check out Billy Ray Valentine on Truth Frequency Radio. And as soon as I get a hold of Chris Geo, we will also have the Ironworks on Truth Frequency Radio as soon as we get that set up. We are still working at those details. Yeah, with that, I'm going to get the hell out of here.
Yep, me too. I'll catch us all later.
Excellent.
All right, Rob.
Love you.
brother.
See you guys.
Hang
Bye.
on.
Take it easy. God bless, mate. I'm going to head out as well, guys. I was just going to say one last thing, Josh. I will send you the link for the slideshow so that if some random reason somebody wanted it, they can have access to the...
And I will put that in the show notes right above the link to the calculator.
Excellent. Cool. I'll make that available. I'll send it over to you and then you can stick it in. All right. Thanks for a great show, guys, and take care.
Thank you,
I'll
brother.
see you soon.
All right, Adam. Love you. Have a good
Man, love you, brother.
See you guys. Bye. Bye.